Hi, and welcome to SeekFromEntourage.com. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Nellie and Phil Akalp of Corpnet.com, an organization that helps startups and just about anybody set up a new business. Welcome, guys. I appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's first, before we even get into Corpnet.com, one of the interesting things about you two is that you founded a business in 1997 out of your apartment. And I'm very interested, and our audience is also very interested in hearing more about what mycorporation.com was all about and how it all started.
I'm going to let you take that, Phil.
But it's funny, actually. It's funny. I was actually in my last year of law school. Sitting around, I was getting a D in my corporations class. And I was not doing very well. I had a hard time. And I remember I thought, well, how else can I do better in this class? Let's start writing about it. Let's start getting into it. I'm going to dive into it because I need to pass this to get a good grade point average and become a lawyer, right? Well, I started writing about it, and one of my background strengths was I had these little websites that I would create in 1997, these little fun websites like Draft Your Own Will, which was willdrafter.com. That was pretty fun. It made a couple $100 a day online without anything. It just deposited into our bank account. It was fun. And then we did this thing. And I was doing this, I was sitting back at home, and Nellie walks in one day. Ripped pantyhose, briefcase is like half open, hair's all messed, she's sweaty, mascara's running. And I go, are you okay? And she walks in and she goes, you know what, I just spent 2 hours driving home from Glendale in traffic with no air conditioning and my broken car since I haven't had in high school, and you're sitting around here playing around on the internet all day.
In your underwear.
When are you going to do something and get responsible? And she just stormed off, and I said, wow, she's right. I am a loser. And I sincerely felt that way. I felt like I wasn't pulling her own weight. And I came up to her and I go, hey, I got this idea. We're gonna form corporations on the internet, and we're gonna do it for like $99, and it's gonna be a great thing. So I just need to borrow $100 to get a domain name. And she's like, what? And back then, that's what it was. It was $100 to buy a domain name back then. And one thing led to another. I called my buddy at Earthlink. His name was Sky. And I don't know if you know your Earthlink history, but he was the CEO of Earthlink. And he was in his apartment. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, I'll get it to you, but it's going to take me like 2 weeks, dude. 2 weeks to get a domain name. And I said, let me give you a credit card. He goes, sorry, Earthlink doesn't accept credit cards. Send me a check. That's what we're talking about in the history. We started it. We did it. We got our first customer. We got another customer. We started accepting credit cards on our answering machine. All right. We started just taking a few orders, and I was happy. I was making $400 or $500 a day doing nothing. I left to study for the bar, and then she took over.
And that's when it really, really just exploded. And when he came back from taking the bar exam, I had actually people working in our apartment, and I had a list of items that he needed to execute for us on the web.
I kid you not. I get there, my TV's gone. There's a desk there instead of my TV. There's 4 phones. There's 3 law review students from my law school working there, like $10 an hour, answering phones, right? I don't know how she pulled it off. She goes, by the way, now we do LLCs, we do trademarks, we do annual reports. I go, oh my God, no. She goes, I need this done on the website by Friday. And I went, oh my goodness.
It was a great ride, and kind of fast forward, it really allowed us to, MyCorp, when we founded that company, when it was born, it was at the birth of the internet. So everything was relatively much on a lower scale. Incorporation filing services, there was really only a few of them.
There was like 3 or 4 of us.
Compared to today, whereby
2,000 or 3,000.
It's a ton, and it's obviously, the majority of the market share is, of course, taken by LegalZoom, but tons of competitors out there, and we're in a different ball game today with Corpnet. But MyCorp allowed us and gave us the blessing to really learn the tools of starting a business, managing it, growing it, and fast forward to 2005 when we were approached and blessed with the opportunity of being approached by Intuit, whereby they approached us under the guise of partnering with them, and soon the conversation turned to one of acquisition, and we were acquired by them in 2005, and Phil and I decided that.
Well, you know what was interesting? I remember when they came to talk to us, they said, and this is interesting for anyone who wants to get acquired, one of the first questions was, all right, who's your board of directors? And I said, well, that's Nellie and me. He said, okay, well, how much debt do you have? And relatively, if you look, it was literally our credit card bills just for the month, which was for the cost of goods sold for supplying our product. I go, well, maybe it's like 40 grand, which was really nothing back then for what it was. Okay, well, how many lawsuits do you have against you? Nobody. Nobody's suing us. How many people are you suing? We're not suing anybody. And everything was such a clean slate, and it was so easy because we ran our business ethically and morally. We never messed with anybody. We always paid our bills, and we just always tried to do the right thing, no matter what, at what cost. We always tried to do the right thing.
And hence the acquisition was fairly smooth and it went really quickly. So we were approached in March and we were acquired by November of 2005.
It was fast. It was really fast, yeah.
Yeah, and both of us, we really didn't know what our exit strategy was. So a lot of times we're asked, did you have an exit strategy with mycorporation.com? And
No.
the answer to that question is no, we didn't. In fact, when we were even approached, and we were asked to put a number as to how much we would want to sell our company, my answer to them was, how do I put a number on something I have so much passion about doing each and every day? But when we were acquired, we stayed on for a little bit. For us, we're true entrepreneurs. We're serial entrepreneurs, and it lost its entrepreneurial spirit for us. So we decided to step down and just take a few years off and focus on our family, and we did that.
So you went from 1997 to 2005, which was roughly like about 7-8 years, before actually going from the beginning to the end of that first company. So that's a long time to be in something, but it's about probably, I'd say, the minimum for an entrepreneurial journey, which to me is anywhere between 7 to 13 years. So, at the 7-year mark, you have this opportunity to get out. It just made sense to do it. But what was the secret to making a partnership between a husband and a wife work for that long, and while having this business?
In all candor, every marriage, every partnership has its up and downs, in my opinion. Phil and I have been through the trials and tribulations of being in a marriage, being best friends, being business partners, but I think it all boils down to really taking the time out to hear each other out, process things out, and really having that trust and respect in each other as individuals. And for us, that's what works. We're both only children. We have very similar backgrounds, and we met in college. We had very similar interests in going to law school together, although we ended up in different law schools. And we're both very, very hard workers. We have a very similar mindset when it comes to going after what we believe in and our passions and bringing our dreams into reality. And what works for us is that we do it very differently from each other. He's more the creator and the idea man, and I'm more of the executor. So it's a good balance for us. But I would be lying to you if I said to you that there are times that we don't fight. We do fight, just like every other husband and wife, and there are times that we don't agree. But at the end of the day, it's all as to how you deal with the situation, and sometimes you got to just put the egos aside.
Well, that's a pretty good answer. I was going to say it's because she's really good looking. No. That's all I was going to say. I like your answer better. Let's go with that
one. Were there any particular moments in that journey when your first real business, mycorporation.com, was being set where you wanted to give up and kind of move away from it? Or was it kind of a smooth ride from the beginning to an end because the internet era was still very new then?
That's a great question, and there was actually, I would say probably in 2003, and prior to that, Phil and I had signed some pretty heavy advertising contracts with, back then there was Register.com, Microsoft, Excite, a lot of different type of ad agencies, and we felt that by cutting the cord it was going to really, really hurt our business, and yet we weren't really seeing the profitability that we wanted to see. So that was a really tough time for me with MyCorp at that time.
We had to take a lot of chances back then because we didn't have the same level of analytics that you can get today.
Yeah.
Today, everything is so analytics driven. If you're not on top of your analytics, especially in an industry that is so I don't want to say old, but as mature as ours is.